Howdy, folks. Doing a quick code along for problem 8, or problem 1 on packet 8. So that is packet 8, problem 1. So hopefully this will be helpful for you as you're getting started here. So this problem is asking us to do a pretty simple thing. We're going to roll sort of imaginary dice a bunch of times, and we want to know like how many ones, how many twos, how many threes, whatever got rolled. And so I wrote down the requirements. So I have to keep track of how many of each roll occurred. And the reason I put that down as a requirement is that, we just learned about this new thing called an array, which we can keep a list of things, but we actually don't need to keep track of the sequence. Like, we don't need to know there was a 1, then a 3, then a 2, then a 5, then a 6, then a 2, then a 1, right? We just need to know that, hey, there were 2 1s, 2 2s, 1 3, 0 4s, 1 5, and 1 6, right? So that's really what we want to do, and we want to have some nice way to print those results to the screen at the end. I should probably add to the requirement here. We need to, roll set number of dice. So we're going to ask that to the user. So that's really important to add in there too. And then some goals for us is that we just learned about arrays. So can we use an array in a clever way to help us keep track about this? And so we're going to talk about that and what can we use an array for if we're not just going to keep track of all the different things that sort of the order of things. How can we use this in a nifty way? And this seems like it can be kind of a short program. Why does it feel like it could be a short program? If you guys remember the Pot Shots at Pi program that we just finished, that ended up being pretty short, and there's some similarities here, right? It's similar in that we can, we're generating sort of a roll, or just like we did a toss in before, and then we're going to probably put it in its place and then go on. So we ended up having a lot shorter code than we thought, probably, for the Pot Shots at Pi. So now that we've kind of thought about it a little bit and we've sort of organized our thinking, let's get over to coding. So let's switch over to code blocks, and let me get it up here. And so what are the things that we want to do here? So we know that we're going to generate some random numbers, so we have to include stdlib, and we have to include time. Okay, so our first little problem should be, the first little problem we can have is we should get, how many rolls we want from the user. So we'll have num rolls, and we can just say, hey, cout, how many dice to roll? And we can go back here and finish our quotes. And, well, how many dice to roll? Well, they're just gonna cin num rolls. And I probably should put the arrows in. Cool, that's pretty good. So we got that to start off with. Next, we need to, generate a dice roll. So what's a single dice roll gonna look like? Well, a dice roll is gonna be a number between 1 and 6, because hey, that's what we're rolling with the dice. So let's set up our random number generator. We know that we're going to use srand time null. That's going to get us set up right here. And then, well, what does a dice roll look like? Well, let's make a new thing called int roll, because that's going to be our individual roll. And hey, roll is going to equal what? Well, rand. And then, hey, we want there to be 6 things, so we mod it by 6. So let's think about what happens with mod by 6. We end up with, well, 0 is a possible answer, 1's a possible answer, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So this actually gives us a number between 0 and 5, or including 0, all right? So that gives us 6 numbers. That's great. If we want them to be 1 through 6, we can just add a 1. Cool. Feeling good about that. So this comes into, hey, we just generated one roll. So let's test to see that this works. Just it's good to, test and run our program. We want to roll, well, I'll say I want to roll 5 dice, but it's just going to pop up, and you can see here it's just telling me that I have a 4 right there. So cool, I generated a 4, and that's great. So I know I'm rolling something. Hey, I got a 5 this time. So I got different numbers. That feels pretty good. So now I want to roll a bunch of dice, right? So that sure sounds like something that we're going to want to set up a loop for, right? So for int I equals 0, and I is less than, hey, guess what? Less than numerals. I plus plus. So in this case, just like at some of the other programs we've done, Potshots of Pi, so on and so forth, we're going to do this a certain number of times. We're okay reusing roll because we're going to do something with roll. So we want to keep track of all these different things. So kind of the old way to do it was we might make like a int 1s, equals 0, int 2s equals 0, so on and so forth. But that's a little bit annoying because one, that makes us, we have to make 6 variables, we have to write a bunch of if statements to make them work. But also, it makes our program less flexible in the future, because what if I wanted you to roll a 10-sided dice? It'd be nice to not have to change very much to make that work. So in that regard, let's make this a little tidier. So what I'm going to do is I am going to make I'm going to call it a dice values. And it's going to be an array that has 6 things in it, and I'm going to set them all to 0. So what this is going to do, well, actually, you know what? I'm going to call it dice results, not dice values. So the dice results, what this is going to do is I made 6 spots, and each spot is going to correspond to one of the potential numbers I can roll. So the first spot in dice results is going to go to the 1s, second, 2s, so on and so forth. But we got to remember that these are start off like spot 0 is for 1s, etc. Does that make sense? So index 0 is for the 1s, so on and so forth. So what do I want to do? Well, kind of our first instinct might be able to say something like this. If roll is equal to 1, then we could go to dice results at spot 0 and add 1 to it. And that makes a lot of sense, I think, at first glance, because you say, hey, I rolled a 1, now I'm going to go to that spot and add 1 to it, which is awesome. And then I could do that for 2, 3, 4. So I'd end up with 6 if statements, and I would add these up, and I would, get all my things taken care of. But remember that one of our goals was to use, if I click back over here to Sublime, we want to use an array in a clever way, and we want to try to keep it really short. So if I have a big, long list of if statements, that doesn't feel like I'm using the array very cleverly, and it doesn't feel like it's very short. So notice something right here. See this 1? Okay, I'm saying if roll is equal to 1, go to spot 0. Those sure look pretty related, right? The 1 and the 0, hey, they're just off by 1. And if it's a 2, I'm going to go to spot 1. If it's a 3, hey, I'm always going to roll minus 1. So let's get rid of this if statement and say, you know what? Let's go to roll minus 1. Perfect. Notice I don't have to have an if statement. I'm just directly going to the spot. So I don't have to ask any questions, and it really cleans up my code. Now, we could leave it like this, but we could also clean it up a little bit and say, you know what? The computer doesn't care if I rolled 1 through 6 or 0 through 5. Like, those are both 6 things. So I could get rid of this plus 1, and I could then have those. The results are going to be the same. It's just, shifted down. We'll have to take that into account when we print some stuff out, but no problem. So here we go. So now our question right here is we want to do a little bit of testing. Okay, so I'm going to see out roll with a tab. This is going to let us see all the rolls that we got. So let me just run it real quick. And I'm going to roll 10 dice. Oops. And I put my slash backwards. That's my own fault. And let's roll 10 dice. And you can see I got a 2, a 1, 2 5s, a 0, a 2, a 4, 3. Cool. So those are the rolls that I have. Now, the reason I'm doing that is that I want to make sure that my dice that I roll matches up with what I print out in a little bit. So what do I want to do to print stuff out? Well, I just need to print out the values of each box, right? So like how many in box 0, how many in box 1, so on and so forth. So that's going to be another for loop. For we'll use JJ for this one. We'll start off at 0. JJ is going to be less than, 6 because there's 6 sides of the dice. JJ plus plus. Cool. And then, what do we want to do? We want to see out, and now we want to print a message. The number of, and in this case, we're going to put it at JJ plus 1. And then we can do like a little apostrophe. Where's my apostrophe? Oops, let's close that off. Rolled is, and then I can just print out dice results at spot JJ. And we'll end the line. So what did I just type out here? I said, hey, the number of, and then I am going to print out, remember, we want to say 1s, and the 0 spot holds the 1, so we add 1. And then we add the apostrophe S to say, just to make it look nice. And then we print out the dice results, and we do that. So, fantastic. Feeling pretty good about that. Let's roll our 10 dice. And, looks like I forgot an end line in here, but you can see here the number of 1s rolled is 2. So let's count. I got a 0 and a 0. Those count as my 1s, right? The number of 2s. Nope, didn't get any. Number of 3s. Yeah, there's a 2 right there. Remember, that's the index that we sort of hid it in. Okay. The 4s, we should have 2 because there's 2 3s. The 5s, there are 1 4 and 1 4, so there's 2 of those. Number of 6s, hey, there's 2 3 5s, and so that means there's 3 6s rolled. So hey, we tested it out. It's working great. So we can toss out our roll. Okay, and we can tidy this up a little bit. We'll add a comment in that says generate all the rolls. Okay, and this, this print out the results. Okay, cool. This feels pretty good. So one of the questions that we could have is, so this is looking pretty good. This is kind of what we wanted here. What if we wanted to make this a little more generic? What if we wanted to make it so this was based on, we wanted to ask another question, see out how many sides on your dice. Oops. On your die. Okay. Maybe I want to ask that question. And then they could see in, well, num sides. Cool. So hey, let's make a int num rolls and a num sides. Hey, I'm going to move roll up into this line because since I'm not initializing any of these because I'm asking for them all, I can kind of tidy them up there. Okay, now we're going to have one more thing that we want to do is that we don't want to make dice results here because it's not going to be 6 big anymore. It's going to be num sides big. And so then we can just create that right after we get this. Okay, and so then, hey, we made a nice array here, and then we can mod by 6. Oh no, we don't want to mod it by 6. We want to mod it by num sides. Okay, and then we want this to do num sides. Okay, and that's it. Now I can run this real quick. And now I can say, hey, I want to roll 10 dice. And there's 7-sided dice. That's a weird die. And hey, it generated a couple of things. Okay, and that's our little combination there. You can easily modify this to roll any number of dice you might want for your program. And we have a tidy little program. We have a few comments in here. We have a little white space to make it, readable. And we're, still under 20, 20 lines of code. So very tidy, very neat. Hopefully this helps you out and enjoy working on the problem. Cheers.